Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We will get started in just a couple of minutes. Thank you. So bear with us. How is everybody today? I hope you're doing awesome because we are. That's for sure. Did I bring my book up with me? Give me 1 minute. I have to tell you a story because, this book, Empowering Women to Succeed, Tough Times Don't Last, but Tough Women Do. I have to tell you that we launched online on June 1st, and then we launched live on June 2nd. And it was pretty incredible because we didn't know at the time, despite all the people we spoke to, despite all the calls to Amazon, we didn't know that we were supposed to actually watch and take images, and that was your proof of whether you become a bestseller or an international best-selling author. And some really lovely lady 2.5 months later. Kind of figured maybe we didn't know, and sent me images of June 1st and June 2nd hitting international best-selling author, which was phenomenal because we had no idea. So I thank her so much for that. She's awesome, and I look forward to supporting her and her business in the future. And you just never know how relationships get built. You never know. Just by supporting somebody in something that you think was nothing is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to be able to do that. So thank you for being on the call. I am just waiting for Jenny to get on the Hangout. And I apologize that we're delayed, but I wanted to talk to you guys. This Hangout, this author's Hangout, is about our authors sharing part of their stories with you. And in that, they share the challenges that they faced, things that they talk about in the book. They share those challenges and then how they got through some of those issues. And even though some of the stories may not be similar to yours, they still face challenges, and they had a journey that they went through, whether it was somebody they sought or faith or, coach, a mentor, or their own mindset, whatever it is, they had something that pulled them through, that pulled them out of the rut or the issue that they were facing and helped them through that so that they could be successful in their lives. And why hold this to yourself? Seriously, if you have information that you're holding and you're not sharing it, are you helping anybody? No, you're not. So you could be helping so many people just by sharing that information. And that's the whole premise to this platform, is so that we can share that information with you and help you through some of your challenges. So even if you don't resonate with a particular story, you still might get some kind of nugget or idea that could help you through your challenge. And then there'll be other stories where you do totally resonate with it and say, hey, that sounds so much like my story. I think that if that maybe it can help me through as well. And it's absolutely incredible what so that we can share that information with you, Lenny, and help you. Sorry, I had to mute her because she's playing the she's got the link playing on the video. Okay, so thank you. We've got Jenny on the call now. That's awesome. Found the link. I'm just going to make sure that okay, you'll have to unmute yourself because they can't unmute you.
Hello.
There you are.
I was watching the video and I thought I was on it. And then you said, oh, sorry, Jenny's late. And I was like, oh, I'm right here. But obviously I didn't do this right.
Yeah, Google Hangouts are so funny because there's a link where you guys can watch it and you can play it any time. But then there's a separate link for us when we get on live. So it's always confusing for the people who are actually part of the Hangout that are presenting, because sometimes, we don't know where to go, but it's all good. We've got you now. Thanks for being on. You look awesome. I have my hair on top of my head.
I got my hair on the back of my head. So it's wet. Took a late shower this morning.
So everybody, this is what happens to me in the summer because my hair goes totally frizzy and I can't stand it. So I know some of you out there are resonating with that. And you're feeling me, right? You're feeling the vibe. So
feeling it.
This is awesome. So I'm here with our editor, Jenny McKeag, and Jenny was born to write. She's been writing all her life. This is what she's passionate about, and she's very good at it. And if you haven't read the Empowering Women to Succeed book yet, please go on Amazon and get it, because you will see that the writing is phenomenal. Although our authors wrote their own, that also needed to be edited in a fashion where it was flowing nicely so that the reader could enjoy the reading, and that it all was congruent with each other. So, with each story and whatnot. So that takes a lot of work to do. And Jenny and her team did all of that for us. So not only is she an author in the book, but she was also the editor in the book. So thank you, Jenny. Jenny, the reason that we're on here, and thanks for being on, is because we want to share with people about the Empowering Women to Succeed book, but we want to share some of our own stories. And, maybe we're going to help somebody out there, whether they resonate with our story or not. There might be some kind of nugget that we used to get through some of the challenges that we faced. And maybe that will help somebody out there. So do you want to share with us a little bit about your story and what you told in the book, and tell us about the challenges that you faced and how you got through or overcame those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. I mean, you thanked me for being here. Thank you for having me here, because it's always a pleasure to, do this kind of stuff. And like you said, to be able to help anyone who may need that, right? So, yeah, so very much appreciate that. So I wrote my story. It's called Rain Dance, and it's about dancing in the rain, and it's about letting life lead you, and sort of my experience with that. About 3-4 years ago, I made some tough choices. I had been seeking, if you want to call it that, for many years, kind of seeking like within, what do I, what am I creating in my life? What do I want to do with my life, and what's going to make me the most happy and the most satisfied? And so a series of all of my courses that I took and everything I learned and everything that I learned about myself caused me to make some big changes in my life. And that's the story of Rain Dance, really. And then I've got some stuff in there from my past. Of course, when I was 16, I had an accident and wasn't able to walk. So that gave me and gives me still huge insight into life, and just gratitude, and, being like grateful I can walk now. For those of you who may not know me, I was very blessed that it was a temporary thing, a swelling in my brain that, that I had to retrain myself how to walk. And I think that's, I'm not really sure I'm answering your question, Randy, but I think that's life. It's like you constantly have to retrain yourself to, to navigate the ebbs and flows of life. And that really is what my chapter is all about. If you want to know all the details, you read it. But unless Randy asks me more questions about it.
Look, what I want to know, what I want you to tell our audience, or just give them maybe talk about one challenge that you had, that you wrote about, and then what steps did you actually take to get through that challenge?
Okay, sounds good. I'm trying to remember what I put in that chapter. It's funny. My process for writing is, I should have the book in front of me. Can you ask the question again?
Sure. So I want you to talk about one challenge that you faced and what you actually did to overcome it. So whether it was a physical challenge that you had or an emotional, mental challenge that you had, just talk about that challenge for a minute, and then tell our audience what steps did you take to get through that, because this is all about empowerment. We want to give people some tools where they can get through.
Awesome. Okay, so I totally get that. One of the biggest challenges, and like I said, when I was making those series of choices, I was in a job that wasn't quite right. And I had this like passion inside of me, but it was a restlessness because I wasn't allowing myself to live that passion at that time. And so one of the biggest challenges I had was that I'm a born writer, like Randy said, and I wasn't writing as much as I wanted to be. I was still writing here and there, and I had freelance clients and everything like that, but I was in a full-time job that took a lot of my time and a lot of my energy, and I was giving and giving and giving to a lot of people about health and wellness. And for a lot of health and wellness professionals, that would be a dream job. But I had it in my heart that I wanted to be writing. Now, I'm still a big advocate of health and well-being and all of that kind of stuff. But at that time, it was just this like restlessness inside. And so in order to overcome that, I had to start to listen to what was within me. And I did that through, I started to meditate, and I was meditating frequently every day. Every day I started to journal, and I journaled every day, and I started to write, and I wrote every day. There's a book, if anyone is a creative mind, or even just to allow more expressiveness and freedom in your life, there's a book called The Artist's Way. And I started using that book. Julia Cameron is a creative great, but she's also she's just a beautiful life force of helping people connect in with, you know, tools, right? And it's this workbook. So I was working through this, and I've done this book like 4 times. But at that time I had started journaling, and I was writing 3 pages, which Julie Cameron calls morning pages, every morning. And in those, I tuned to myself, I'll call it. And I connected with the truth within me. And once I connected with that truth, it was like I was unstoppable. I did. People thought it was crazy. I went and quit my job, and I don't totally recommend that to everyone. You know, if you're feeling restlessness, oh, okay, I'm gonna change everything, right? That's how I did it. That's not the only way to do it. So, you know, and I also left a relationship that wasn't quite the right fit. And again, it was that restlessness inside and things that I needed to solve for myself. And so the biggest tools, like I said, were meditation, journaling. And so I would just take my pen to the page and start to write. Now I wrote for things that I wanted to be writing and creating things. And then I wrote for me, and I wrote for my soul and for my essence. And that tuned me into just the truth of allowing myself to get led through life and be supported through life. And I also danced, actually. So there's an organization called the World Groove Movement, and I was connected in with them. I was training as a master trainer for them. And a lot of that is connecting in with music and movement in a way that feels good in each person's body. And so I was grooving in the community, and I was grooving at home. And that connection to my body also helped me connect to my inner self, so that when I stepped out in the world, everything was emanating from within to then, you know, make powerful choices. Like I quit my job. I was like, what was I going to do? But I started a business, right? And I knew in my heart I wanted to be writing, so I just started writing, right? And sometimes that's the biggest thing with an obstacle, is just the overcoming of it is just to start, to take action, to maybe you don't know exactly we never know what the outcome is going to be, right? Because like life is just, it's not, there's no guarantees. Let's say that much. But I also came to understand that, you know, the past is gone. It's done. And I love Deepak Chopra, and he says, you know, you can be a prisoner of the past, or you can be a pioneer of the future. And that's cool. And even if you're a pioneer of the future, guess what? We're still not in the future, right? We're in the present moment. And I became really present to the fact that the present is all we have. And when I started living from that space, and from the space of like, maybe I'm not going to get another breath, maybe I'm not going to be able to walk tomorrow, maybe I'm not going to, you know, any of those things, then I started to appreciate my life a lot more too.
That's
Does that
been,
answer the question? I'm a talker.
well, I think that, you're you're giving people the steps that you took. Like, you had a lot of challenges, and what did you do to overcome them? Now, they may not work for everybody, but they worked for you,
Yeah.
right? So, dancing might not be something somebody thought of, but maybe they love dancing, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Or movement, or any kind of exercise, or anything that gets the blood flowing.
Yeah.
If that resonates with somebody, then absolutely try it. Like, if you haven't tried it before, do it. If any of the things that Jenny says are things that you haven't tried before, and you think, well, maybe, let's try it and see if that works for me, do it. Do it, because it may be something you didn't think about before. And, because that's like off the cuff kind of stuff. It's not just the typical, oh, go for a mentor, go, or I believe in this or that or whatnot. This is a little bit different. It's a different step to take. It's physical. It gets the blood flowing. It gets the brain thinking, the cognitive functioning going, and it just helps every part of your body start to work. So whether it's mental, physical, or whatever it might be, definitely some kind of movement, right?
Actually, as you're saying that, Randy, I remember, so I was dancing a lot, and like you said, physical movement, and that might not be for everybody. I know, like, some of my male friends are like, I'm not going to dance at home, right? Like, they're like, I mean, just don't do that. You turn on the music and crank the music while cooking and dance, and, which I'm like, okay, cool. That's your vibe. I get that. But like you said, the physical activity of it, and that reminded me, once I made that choice and made that leap, and I was like, okay, I'm just leaving all the stuff, and then I'm going for, didn't know what it was, but I started to listen to and tune to me. And then when I moved in with a roommate, so that's in my chapter. I moved in with a roommate, and I was there, and I was also walking every day, and that was phenomenal. And just we were in a neighborhood, and I just walked around, walked and whatever. But it was that physical movement, like you said. And it wasn't like, hardcore triathlete, but even that just allowed the clarity to come, which was pretty cool too. And like you said, the connection of mind and body, right? And so, and that helps with creativity too, which is nice. But it helps with everything. I think you go for a walk and oh, okay, whatever we were worried about, it's like, kind of goes away. So.
When you're teaching people about writing, quite often you're telling them, if you get writer's block or whatnot, stop and go for a walk or do some kind of physical movement or exercise, because it gets everything flowing and the cognitive functioning. But even that break, all of a sudden, all these ideas might start popping into your head, right?
Yeah.
So whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. So thank you for that. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my chapter, and I'll talk about one of my challenges. And one of my challenges was, going from relationship to relationship. And I don't mean that it has to be a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or, whatever. It can be anybody. It can be a family member. It can be a friend. It can be a work associate. It can be a business relationship. It can be an employee-employer relationship. Whatever the relationship is, I went from, family to a relationship and then other relationships where I would be finding people that, how we always say, surround yourself with people that lift you up, right? And not bring you down. And sometimes it can be a family member or even a spouse that does this, but and it's not necessarily intentional, but it just happens. And it also is your perception of things as well. And, maybe I'm on the softer side when it comes to emotions and how I perceive and deal with things. But, sometimes when people are close to you, some of their behaviors may cause you to feel like you're not worthy or you're useless or you can't do anything. But in reality, you've got a whole list of things that you do, right? And so the reality is you're very useful, you're unbelievable, but for whatever reason, you keep feeling like you're useless and you're incapable and you can't do anything. And to go through, say, 40 years of that, from one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next, is not a great feeling. But you also have to look at yourself and say, well, what kind of choices am I making? Like, who am I choosing to be surrounded by, or who am I choosing to have relationships with? If I'm choosing people that don't lift me up and make me feel good. And sometimes this is a lifetime's worth, and sometimes this happens over time, so it doesn't happen initially, but it could happen. So all of a sudden I find myself 40 years later feeling this from person to person to person. And yes, there have been other fantastic people in my life, and these people were fantastic as well in other ways, but for whatever reason, those were feelings that I felt about myself. And, although these people had some incredible positive things about them, this one part still kept resonating negatively with me. And I kept carrying it through. And then when I separated, so I was 40, when I separated, I had never actually lived alone. And all of a sudden it was this big scary thing, even though I had 4 kids, but that's not another adult, right? So now I'm alone, and now what, right? I never really learned to enjoy being by myself or enjoying my own time or doing any of that. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, now what? So I spent quite a bit of time being with people, because maybe from the fear of being alone or whatnot, and or maybe the fear of getting to know me, and do I like me, and do I value me? And I had to go through a process of learning how to do that. And it was difficult. It was difficult to do in the beginning. I really jumped into networking and meeting people. I've always been very involved in community things and giving back. That was always a big part of my life. And the importance of that always makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel good giving back, not only helping somebody else, but you're helping yourself as well, because it's such a great feeling. So if you haven't done it before, do it. But the whole process. So jumping into networking and getting to know so many people and finding people around me who actually lift you up, that have positive things to say, not hearing negative things all the time, but having positive things really helps you on the drive to being positive yourself, which I've always tried to be, and removing the toxins out of your life. So getting people out of your life who are toxic to you. And unfortunately, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a business associate, it could be anybody. And if you surround yourself with people who bring you down or are toxic to you, then you're not doing yourself any justice. So if you surround yourself with people that lift you up, it really helps with your own mindset. Especially if you're surrounding yourself with people who are coaches and mentors and maybe just positive people. I've heard from one person, I won't say their name, but they were told that they were too positive. They actually posted publicly saying that they were told that they were too positive. I don't think you can be too positive. I mean, if it's genuine and for real, then, if that's your outlook on life, all the power to you. Like, that is the best feeling, to not let anybody bring you down. It is such an incredible feeling. And especially when you're a personality who maybe is more sensitive to that, then, being able to overcome and surrounding yourself with really, really good people is a huge step in the right direction and getting those toxins out. And if it is a family member or somebody close to you, maybe you can spend less time with them. Maybe you can't get rid of them completely, but spend, like, who do you spend most of your time with? Those are going to be the people you're more likely to become, right? Whether it's financially, emotionally, or any other way. So really think about who, say, are the closest 5 people to you. Who are they? How do they make you feel? And really analyze, should you be spending a lot of time with these people? Should you be spending more time with them? Or should you decrease the time that you spend with them? Because this is vital to your mental success, to your business success. Remember, anything that affects you personally can affect you in your business and vice versa. You are one whole person. So if something affects you in one place in a negative way, it could be affecting you in a negative way in another area of your life that you don't necessarily want it to. So you could maybe pay attention to your behavior in all those situations and how things affect you, and really surround yourself with good people. The impact it's going to have on your personal and professional life is phenomenal. So I hope that helps everybody. And if you guys have any questions, you can type them into the Google page, and I will have a look there and find any questions. But Jenny, is there anything you want to add to our audience?
I'm just taking in what you said, Randy. I love that. I love what you said about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up. I think that's amazing. I guess, you know what I will say to the audience as well as that, I think there's that is so important and can be so hard to do, because you can love people, absolutely, but when you know that you're worth it enough, like in your story, Randy, like you made choices like that to start to really truly surround yourself with people who lift you up, and it just made profound changes, right? And so I guess to the audience, I would say be brave. Even if you think, oh, how am I, like, how, what if, what, like any of those noisy, like, monkey mind things we can hear. If you are like, if you're watching this, you're watching it for a reason. And there are so many people who will lift you up, because if you're in a tough situation, you might not realize or know that there is a world of people out there who will help and who will support you and who will be there for you. So just be brave and just know that you are supported. I mean, the fact that we have this community in itself is proof, right? Like, this community is here to empower one another. Like the community from the book, right? Empowering women and men, like we're, so there's that. And then also I think it's really important to nurture. I really feel strongly, and like you said, Randy, about when you were 40, it was like, oh, then okay, now I got to spend time by myself, that kind of thing. And I think when you can connect in with that and feel good in stillness and in time on your own, and then when you go out in the world, you're even stronger. So I think combining those two things, and sometimes when you're going through the challenges, I love this analogy a dear mentor of mine used, was about, like, sometimes when you're rebuilding your thoughts or rebuilding your life or making new choices, you're like a tree. You're like a baby tree, right? Like the roots are just starting to go into the ground, and they put those little fences up to protect the baby tree, right? And so sometimes it's like you have to protect yourself from the people who might try to be negative. And then you get grounded and you get rooted even more, and then your tree flourishes and grows, and it's like the positive tree. And I don't know, that analogy stuck for me, but it really is. It's like, okay, just be mindful, because when you're creating shifts in your life or changes in your life, you have to love yourself like you're this, like protect yourself like you're this little kid, right? So much, and then choose the people that you want around you, and then you flourish. So it's both, I think. So also taking that time to nourish and cherish yourself, as well as, surrounding yourself with the people who will help to plant the seeds and water you and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
I'm a writer. I like analogies.
Definitely, and thank you. And yeah, one thing I didn't add when I went off on my little tangent there was, you know, when you are alone, and I know some of you are resonating with this because, some people just don't like to be alone. And I was one of those people. Whether I was sick, miserable, didn't matter. I wasn't miserable very often, but, when you have any kind of feelings, I didn't want to be alone. So, 40 years later, it's kind of tough to start to try to learn how to like yourself and whatnot. But I dove into a lot of personal and professional growth, a lot of it, and met a lot of incredible people. And I really learned to enjoy me time. I really started to enjoy that and just being with me. Go read a book, go watch television, go do nothing, go rest and relax and just think about your thoughts, go for a walk, go for a drive, whatever it is that gets your goal, and I work out all the time, so that's alone time too. But, just doing things to learn to enjoy yourself and just to enjoy the peacefulness of being on your own and being able to love yourself and appreciate all these wonderful things about yourself. And maybe you guys can grab a pen and paper. You don't have to do it now, but after the webinar, and make a list of all the wonderful things about you. Just list them out. Whether you can think of them on your own or it's something somebody else has told you, whether you believe it or don't believe it in the core of core, write it down. And maybe make that a mantra every day. Or, some people write their grateful list before they go to bed, or when they wake up, they write things that they're grateful for. That's one wonderful thing to do. But if you write all kinds of positive things about you, and then you just keep reading them. Read them when you wake up in the morning so that you can start off a fantastic day. Read them before you go to bed at night so you have good dreams and not bad ones, right? And fill your brain with positive things. Or maybe it's audio recordings that you listen to, that feed your brain with positive things. So whether it's motivational or whether it's informational and educational, something ational. Just threw out 3 of them. But those feed your brain, right? They feed your brain with positive things. And I think that's so important for mindset. And that's what my chapter is about, is having a positive mindset, or ensuring that you have a positive mindset. And learn to love yourself. So even if you're married, even if you have, a boyfriend or somebody that you live with, a girlfriend, or someone you live with, somebody who's around you all the time, you still have the opportunity always to have time by yourself, right? And just to learn to like you and love you. And I think that is so important for your own personal growth. And that will carry over into every relationship that you have. It'll allow you to see things more rationally, more logically, able to deal with people on not so emotional basis. And, and emotions are fantastic, but sometimes we need to level them in order to deal with certain situations. So we deal with them on a practical level and not an emotional level, because we get a lot more done. Do you agree? Than when we're not screaming and yelling at each other. If you want to hug and kiss each other, then go for it. Right? But I think really honing in on your positive features can be a major step in the right direction, along with surrounding yourself with really incredibly good people. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that helped. And Jenny, so you had a very physical challenge in your life, right?
Yeah.
You weren't walking, you weren't moving. The fact that you had the mindset to overcome, and that's mindset. It's not just the physical ability, but it's the desire and the motivation to push through and get to where you want to be. And that is absolutely phenomenal that you overcame such a monster physical challenge. And I know a lot of it was the mental ability to get through that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was 16.
Yeah.
And you think, it's 16. I mean, you got teenagers, right? A 16-year-old, like, and yeah, that was devastating. When I woke up and perceptively, when I woke up and I could not lift my legs, that was like, holy shit. It's okay. I hope it's okay. I just cussed on Google Hangout. Is that all right? I just swore. But yeah, but I think it deserves it because, that was, and so now, like, I think intuitively then I knew some of these tools and skills. Now I use them much more consciously, but you're right. It was mindset. It was like, okay, now I need to go to physical therapy. And it was cognitive therapy too, because I had to literally retrain my brain to learn how to, like, my brain wasn't communicating with my legs. That was the issue. So it was like I was like a baby again, and I had to learn how to teach when I said walk, my legs wouldn't do it. I had to teach them how to do that. So that's a very, like you said, that's his, like the synapses and the neuroplasticity, like that's rewiring the brain.
Oh yeah.
As much as it gets. And
yeah, what a horrific feeling that must have been, especially you're 16, you know what's going on here, right? Like,
yeah.
you're living this, and what a horrific feeling to think that, oh my goodness, I may never walk again, and I don't want to be here for the rest of my life. I don't mean on the earth. I mean, I don't want to be in this situation for the rest of my life. And what am I going to do about this, right?
Yeah.
How am I going to change this? And the mind is such a powerful thing. It's so powerful.
It is. Like, honestly, I believe that I'm learning more and more every day, right? But I believe our minds can heal our bodies. Now, that's a tough thing to say because I know people get cancer. I know people got HIV. I know people, are paralyzed fully. Yes. Now, they still have mindsets that allow them to, like Christopher Reeves had an amazing mindset, and he was a quadriplegic, right?
Yep.
But I really, I don't know the exact details, but I know the mind is powerful, and I know on many levels we can heal ourselves. And I know that it was physical therapy. I also know, though, that it took for my brain to say, okay, I can do this. And yeah, the doctor said, your brain's swollen, you're going to have to retrain all this stuff. But I could have just kind of been, like you said, just kind of not done it, right? Or I made the choice. I want to walk. Okay, whatever it's going to take. And now I was very lucky. I had a very supportive family who, helped me do what it took to get to walk again. When I think about that, I think that is just, I say it all the time. Like, yeah, I couldn't walk when I was 16. People are like, what? Or some friends that I grew up with joked, and they're like, remember when you were in a wheelchair for a bunch of months? And like, but when I actually think about it now as an adult, I'm like, holy crap, it's, yeah. So it's, the mind is powerful, and I'm really glad that I'm grateful that I'm able to walk now, because it's,
never mind that you're walking, you're running, you're biking, you're
yeah, exactly.
dancing,
when I'm on a 200-kilometer bike ride and my butt's sore, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm able to do this. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for allowing my butt.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, and that, you know what? I love that. I saw a quote recently that said, strike obligation and insert choice, right? And it's like, we get to do it. I can be whining and complaining halfway through a bike ride. Oh, my butt's sore. Well, guess what? 16 years ago, I wasn't able, or 18 years ago, I wasn't able to do this. Now I get to do it. It's like, oh, even like, you know, people in writing a book or anything like that. It's like, okay, sometimes it gets tough. You get to do this. It's like, not everyone gets to, I mean, they could if they choose it, right. But you know, and so anyways, I get,
no, it's true.
Which is mindset, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, I get to, if you're like, oh, I have to do it. Oh, I get to do it. It's like, you can feel it's lighter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you look at it, could be worse. You know, like one thing my grandmother always said to me growing up, you know, if you asked her, you know, what's wrong? How you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. She would never complain. She always said it could be worse. Mm-hmm. It could be worse, you know. Mm-hmm. And having lived through what she had lived through, you understand why she would have that mindset. But that mindset works for everybody, you know. Mm-hmm. It could always be worse. Even if, God forbid, you were in a wheelchair, it still could be worse, right? No matter what. So, yeah, you know, when you're able to walk again and now you're able to go and do things, well, maybe it hurts, right? Maybe it hurts a little. But if you were in that wheelchair, you would never have been able to experience that hurt, right? So thank you that I can feel this hurt, right?
Yeah, totally. It means you're alive. It means you're like, yes.
Exactly. Same when you're working out at the gym, you know, push that one more, push that two more, push that three more, whatever, you know, be thankful that you are able to do that because there's somebody out there that can't do it. And if you face challenge or adversity in your life, you know, having, when all else looks like it's lost and failing, the mind can overcome so many things. And, you know, God forbid you're paralyzed or God forbid something else, you may not be able to overcome that. There are people who have, so never give up. But, you know, it might be something that you can't physically overcome completely, but your mind can overcome a lot. Our mind can fight off colds. Our mind can fight off some disease. Our mind can fight off a lot of things. And yeah, sometimes it sounds a little hokey, but you know, as you grow and develop, you learn that the mind is such a powerful thing. You can manifest things that you want. You don't always get them, but you can pretty much manifest things that you want. And somehow it happens. Somehow you cause it to happen. And, you know, whether that's, you know, we'll get fluffy here for a second, whether that's an energy causing it or whether you did something to cause it, you can make it happen, right? The mind is so powerful. And, you know, we're not experts on this anyway, but, you know, just from personal experience, we know that having a positive mindset can help you overcome a lot of things. And I think that's a great theme for our talk today, because both what you were talking about and what I was talking about both have to do with mindset, whether it was physical or mental, right? It was the mind that overcame along with the physical body, but the physical body did it because you were determined to have it happen, right? Yeah.
Brandy, if I might add, because when I'm hearing about mindset, and I agree, I think it is the theme. It runs throughout everything. It's in everything we do, right? Our mind, like you said, is so powerful. And I know you're hosting, but are you cool if I ask you a question? Because I think they can help the audience.
Yeah.
You have this phenomenal drive, and this is in your chapter, right? When you were managing a company at 22, that's phenomenal in itself, but that's a thread throughout. Like what I want to ask about is your mindset around hustle and or taking action, getting things done, because you are, for those of you who are, don't know Randy behind the scenes of things. She is an efficiency master, and she's very she's masterful at what she does. She's masterful at what she does. So I want to hear it, but also I think that it can help the people who are watching, to know the mindset of that, just like efficient, effective, like the hustle in you. But it's a lightness. It's not like push. It's a, you know what I mean? Anyways, if you could, I don't know if you want to talk about that. Yeah, go.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's definitely a personality trait. A go. I've always been that way. I've always been self-motivated. So even when I was growing up, I always worked harder on my weaknesses, and I always kind of naturally, instinctively knew I needed to work harder on my weaknesses. Well, it's kind of obvious, right? If you do well in one subject, then you don't have to work so hard at it, but there may be other subjects that you're not so good at, and you need to get extra help in them. So it was always an inner motivation that I had to do well. And was that because I always felt like I was, kind of put down or, not good enough? It could be. I don't know. It could just be a natural inner drive of mine. I've always been a doer and not a talker. So if you ever hear me talk about something, it's probably already been implemented or in the works or it's about to be, because I don't talk about things. And I know some people who are around me, sometimes get frustrated with me because we'll be having a conversation about something and I'm all excited about it to get it done. And I've already gotten it done. The next time they're looking going, wait a minute, we hadn't decided yet. And I'm like, yeah, but, and I've like got it going already. So I love technology. And I don't mean, Sony Walkmans and iPods and that kind of thing. I mean, I love computer technology and I love playing with it. I love doing all of that. I love networking as well, which is kind of, a funny mix. So the introvert and the extrovert, and just depending on my mood, whether I feel it all, right? So I'll just go out and be social. But I think it's a hunger that people have, Jenny. I could say it's a personality trait. I could say it's because of behaviors in my upbringing. I could say it's a hunger, to succeed or to have certain things that you want to have. The only way to get those is to go after it and to do. In general, I think when you find people that are hungry, and I don't mean hungry for food, I mean hungry for some particular goal. So whether that's success or a flourishing business or a flourishing personal life or money or whatever it is, whatever their motivation is, to have that hunger to get it is really the driving force that pushes people to do. And they won't stop. They'll get up early in the morning. They'll go to bed late. They'll do whatever it takes to get it done. So thank you for asking. To me, it's just what I do, right? It's just what I do. And sometimes I need downtime. Sometimes I'm happy just to do nothing, but most of the time it's definitely a driving force. I've got 4 kids, I've got a home, I've got whatever, and I want to keep it. I want to keep it. So, and I'm single mom, and I want to be dependent on myself. I don't want to be dependent on somebody else. And I think that's another huge driving force as well. And but you work your bum off too. You're working your tush off constantly, day and night. I mean, you worked your butt off for this book. We're up all night, editing, reading,
Computer.
Yeah. icing the computer that wanted to die, you know. Well, thank you, computer, for surviving. Like, oh my goodness, like literally on its last stretch. And, you know, so, you know, you have a drive too. You have a determination to reach a certain goal. And how do you do that? How do you do that if you don't, you know, go full force after it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, you do the same thing. We do different things in the background, but, you know, it's the same driving force. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. Thank you. I think, yeah, no, you said, when you said the hunger, I think that's stuck for me, because you move lightning speed, that kind of thing. And like you said, that's in part you, personality, and just who you are. But I think that it can help people too, because if they can connect it with the hunger and drive within them, then it just moves, you know, moves things forward. And you're right. Like when we were in the crux of that, and I do, and I don't want to take away, I do work hard and smart for everything I do, right? But I wanted to see your insights and your mindset on that, because you're phenomenal. You're like just.
Well, thank
I don't
you.
have words at the moment. All I have is noises.
From the word nerd, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just gotta whistle.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. And yeah, it's definitely a driving force. And I know a lot of you out there are resonating with this conversation, knowing that you're doing the same thing. Married, not married, doesn't matter. You know, you have a will to go after what you want, and you're doing everything possible to make it happen, you know, and help a whole whack of people along the way. So, you know, it's all wonderful. And thank you. Thank you, Jenny, for being on the call.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing with us. And I want to thank everybody who's watching for being on the Hangout with us. And we will share this Hangout. So if you guys want to watch it again or watch it for the first time, that's awesome. And you can share it too, please. It's always wonderful. And we look forward to, well, it's you and me. We might as well mention our save the date.
Oh yes, we got a couple of important dates coming up, but
Yes.
definitely September 9th. Save the date. Put it in your calendar right now. Stop what you're doing. Put it in your calendar. September 9th.
Yeah, September 9th. We're promoting a major discount on Kindle and Amazon for the paperback and electronic versions of the Empowering Women to Succeed book once again. So if you want to get it, September 9th is the day to get it on Amazon. Empowering Women to Succeed. Tough times don't last, but tough women do. It'll be 99 cents on Kindle and $9.99 on the paperback. And that's an awesome, wicked deal. So September 9th only, it'll be available. And we really look forward to sharing information with you. Connect with us on Empowering Women to Succeed community on Facebook, on Google+. Message us on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever. Twitter, EWTS is the hashtag. And yeah, thanks, Jenny, and thank you, everybody.
Share that save the date, please. Everyone you know, tell them about it. Post it on your social media.
Yeah. And we'll post the link on the Google Hangout page.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, have an awesome day, everybody. Thanks, Jenny.
Ciao, guys.